I also want to take a moment to thank you. I've met so many incredible people during this trial in person from Arizona, from all over the world, including these guys. These are the Pontoon Amigos, they call themselves. They've been friends for years. And you see, they're wearing our shirts. Ain't nobody got crime for that. And then get to the chopper. They flew from Minnesota to be at the trial this week. And they said that one of them found out about the trial when this first started, when the kids first went missing. They saw my reports. They were at a bar one night, and she pulled out a napkin and was like drawing it all out. Like, there's this person and that person and this person. Their friends got sucked into the story. They've been following it ever since. They're frequent commenters on here. Last night, they're staying nearby. They took the TV outside to watch Courtroom Insider. I have a photo of that too. Sorry, I'm going old school and just showing you my phone, but they went out and Peggy, I thought, sent it to me because it was so so good. There's just so many of you all. You're incredible. What do you say we all have a reunion this summer? Should we all get together somewhere in like Idaho and we'll go to the park and shoot, I don't know where the photo is. Anyway, they had their TV outside in the backyard and they were watching Pontoon Amigos. Thanks to you. Here's some other pictures. This lady showed up yesterday from Texas with a sign that says Nate Eaton's #1 fan. Who makes a sign for me? Like, there, you make a sign for Taylor Swift, Madonna. I don't know about Madonna. I don't know. I don't really like Madonna. Coldplay, something like that. And then this other woman who was also there with our mugshot shirt. So I just have to say, it's great to get photos with you, and thank you all for your support and helping Courtroom Insider be such a success. Now it's time for your questions. There's a lot of them, and your shout outs. Here we go. Sydney Sadlier. I did my own little Courtroom Insider at work today with my coworkers. I start at the beginning, hold clips and everything. Wow, Sydney, that's awesome. Jenny from Connecticut. Chad Mortensen. Chad, I believe, is the only other guy who has come to every trial than me. Like, as far as like public, he was at, and maybe law enforcement. He was at, no, Hermosillo's gone to all of them. He was at the first two in Idaho. He's from Utah. He came to the last one. He came to this one. Chad, I want to shout out your Aunt Patty and Aunt Pooh after Winnie the Pooh. Hi to you guys. Dan Johnson from Minneapolis. Hi to you. Gia, pronounced with a G, like in the word goddess. So Gaia and Gia. Gia from Sweden. Gia. Hope I got it right. Kendall from shout out to your parents, Jenny and Roger, who brought you every night before bed, who watched, I think, every night before bed. Thank you guys. Jessica and Jerry, Jerry and Susan, Beth, Robin from Nashville, Amy Smith from Rexburg, and Kiora to Liz and Nita. Yes, I'm familiar with Kiora. Okay, Peggy found me the photos and just messaged me. Here's these guys, these crazy amigos. Not crazy. Yesterday, outside watching Courtroom Insider on a TV. It must have been 1,000 degrees. I don't know how you all did that, but thank you all. Okay, questions. Here we go. One more shout out. Nate, can you give a shout out to the pot stirrers? Yes, Catherine, Susie Catherine and Rigby, the pot stirrers. They watch every night. They email me and I never write them back. I just wanted to, they followed from the beginning in honor of Heather Daybell. Pot stirrers, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Here's your questions. After the trial is over, will we ever be able to hear what was said in the sidebar? No, I don't think those are released. That's why they make minute notes. I mean, actually, maybe they are. I'd have to check. Depends on the state. In Idaho, they're not, but maybe here. I'll ask tomorrow. I saw the cookie that Lori's cousin brought to court. This is from Margot. Is that wrap even legal? What if a jury member saw it or the judge? I think the cousin would get in trouble, even though the sentiment on there is pretty cool. It wasn't like she brought them in the courtroom and passed them out to everybody. It was just she kind of discreetly gave them to a few of us. So none of the jurors saw it. And if the jurors saw it online on my Facebook page, if they're watching, not a good idea. But if you know a juror who will talk to me when the trial's over, please hit them up after the trial and give them my info. Lori asks, when Lori comes up with her own questions, does she come up with her own questions to ask the witnesses, or does her legal counsel help her? I think both. I think mainly it's her. Lori runs her defense, and I'm sure they advise her No, you might not want to do that, or you might want to do this, but I don't know how much she listens. Is there a receipt for the tint job on that Jeep? Savannah asks. I don't think we saw a receipt, but we saw the yes, we did. We saw a text message that the tint owner of the company sent him and said it was $200. I think it was just like a text message. You click on it and pay. I don't think there was like a paper receipt. Um, Julie, I'm not familiar with the procedures of the U.S. attorneys and Arizona courts. Can you explain why her attorneys aren't stepping in to rein her in? Julie, I don't think she'd let them. I'm sure they have given her advice. They are there as advisories. It's like when you have an advisor in your life, a financial advisor per se, who might tell you that you really should do this with your money, but it is your money. You decide. That's how Lori is looking at this. This is her case. She's running it, and her counsel can give her advice, but they are not in charge. Jocelyn, I live right in Phoenix. I'd love to come to court. Can you give me an idea when I should arrive? Well, Jocelyn, if you're going to come to court, you probably should come tomorrow or the next day. I don't know how many more days we're going to have, but some people get there. The court doors open at 7:30. Today there were plenty of open seats. Yesterday there weren't. It all depends on the day. The courtroom will open. I think they're starting at 10 tomorrow, 10:15. So it doesn't hurt to be there around 8, 8:30. This morning, I know a lady who was there at like 4, sleeping outside on the ground. She really wanted a seat. So it just depends. Michelle, what do you think? Lori thought about the significance of the glass in the road was about. What do I think about Lori thinking the significance of the glass was a road about? Any idea what she'd asked Detective Pillar what his colleague was wearing? As far as the glass, I think she was just trying to say that the glass could have come from anything, which I guess it could have. As far as asking Pillar what his colleague was wearing, sometimes you might ask simple questions and then you might be able to catch the person not telling the truth down the line. Not saying this was Pillar at all, but if you ask one witness, what did you have for breakfast this morning? And I tell you, I had eggs and bacon with my wife. And then you ask the wife, the next witness, and she says, we had Fruit Loops. One of us isn't telling the truth. So probably just like that. Or she just really wanted to know what Lori was, or what he really thought about what the colleague was wearing. Danielle asked, when do I think the state will rest? Probably tomorrow, unless something happens. Annie says, is the judge allowed to discuss the case once it's over, or does the possibility of appeals prevent that from happening? You're right. The appeals and most judges just do not talk about their cases. You rarely see a judge on the news. You'll see a retired judge, or you'll see a judge who's no longer practicing. The judge in the Murdoch case in Georgia, I believe, did an interview after he retired about the case, but he didn't really get into the specifics. Some judges won't do it. I've spoken with retired judges, not like on the record, just chatting, and they'll open up about stuff. But I hope so. Some might go on and write a book. I don't know if they're legally bound to not do that. But anyway, I'd love to talk with Judge Boreski, even if it's just an off the record lunch over lunch one day. That's what a off the record lunch would be. It'd be over lunch. Nate, what date did you go to the storage unit? Teresa's asking. What date did the police notify about it? Do the Woodcocks have the quilts that were in storage unit, or does Colby? The reason I'm asking is it sounds like you knew before the police knew about the storage unit. Is that true? Did you notify the police? The police, from what I understand, were aware of the storage unit early on, or they had the document, but so many things were happening in the case at that time. I had just gotten back from Hawaii, and they're keeping eyes on Lori and Chad, and they're trying to put together this investigation. I don't know the date that they went over. I do know the day that I aired our story and put it on eastidahonews.com, the cops were there within an hour after that story went up. As far as the stuff in the unit, I believe that some were given to the Woodcocks. I don't know where all of it ended up, but it was not destroyed. It was turned over to family members, which is why one of the reasons well, not one of the reasons, but the storage unit owner told me he would not destroy it. And I didn't know him. He saw me in Hawaii and called me, got my cell phone and called me. And yeah, so the guy that owns the storage unit. I took him to lunch a few weeks later and thanked him for the scoop. Did you catch that Dan Moss, the tint guy, said that he was hired on September 23rd? So was that the same day little JJ was taken that they were planning Brandon's shooting? I believe it was the 21st. Yeah, it was around that time. And they were doing everything. They were planning, I'm sure, Tammy's shooting, Brandon's shooting. The children were both dead. They were getting things in motion very quickly. Isn't there a law in Arizona called Hannah Priors? It refers to being able to use someone's prior convictions against them. I don't know what the name of the law is called, but that's 404B that we talked about the other night. Cindy asked, do Lori advisors tell her what she shouldn't ask and should not do? I talked about that one. Does Brandon have full custody of the 4 children, or does Melanie also get them? Carol asked that. They share custody, 50-50. What on earth is the pink pony that Lori's talking about with Brandon? Annie asks that. The pink pony's a restaurant, a steakhouse that Brandon apparently went to with friends years ago and danced. And there was a video. He was hanging out with the guys, from what I understand. I don't remember if I've seen the video or not, maybe in the early days of that, but it's not, ever since then, that Pink Pony song has come out. It's not connected to that. Nate, can I see Lori's stun bun? Cindy, stun belt. Is she fiddling with it on purpose, trying to show people? I don't think so, Cindy. I think she's trying to cover it up. She had on a baggy suit on Friday to kind of cover it up, but yeah, she doesn't want them to see it. Lisa Roberts asked, do I think the gun used in Brandon's incident is the same one used in Tammy? I talked about that earlier. Could be, or he could have used a different one if he was upset that it didn't fire. Well, wait. Brandon was shot at first. Okay, so yeah, it could have been the same one. Right. Sorry, I had the dates wrong. I was thinking Tammy died first. So yeah, he could have used the same one with Brandon. It worked. It shot. And then he took off, and then he probably took it over to Tammy. So forget what I said earlier about the timeline difference, that the fact that it didn't work with Tammy, so he may not have wanted to use it with Brandon. The times were different, and that it was there first. Nate, I heard the judge is only going to allow one person from the media in the courtroom for the Kohberger trial, and it will be someone from Latah County. Good question. The Kohberger trial seating is a lottery system. Every single person that wants to go in the courtroom will need to go on a website the day before at noon and request a ticket. If you get a ticket, you have a seat. The media, as a coalition, filed a motion with the judge asking that we could have one seat reserved for media in case one day came along and the public took all the seats and there was no media reporter in there. East Idaho News signed on to that brief. The judge responded that I can't do that because who's media? Is a TikToker media? Is a blogger? Is a YouTuber? Am I media? Is a news? He said, Idaho law does not define who media is. So what I will do is I will have a seat for the local media where the crime occurred in Latah County. They can rotate through and fill the seat as a pool representative for all the media. It's like when the president travels, there's a pool representative who represents all the media, and then they share notes. That's what that means. So I will try to go. I will do Courtroom Insider every night, whether I'm in the courtroom or not. I'll break it all down for you. But yeah, that's kind of where we stand with that. Is Melanie watching this trial? I have no idea. Can Melanie be called to testify? Well, she could, but she hasn't been. She's also a co-conspirator in the case. So I think that could create a conflict if they do press charges against her, which we don't know if they're going to, but Trina has confirmed that she is under investigation. Could I hear what Lori was saying as she was pointing to the judge leaving the courtroom the other day? I could not hear what she said. I was on the other side. Are the jurors allowed to look into what 404A, 404B, and 405 are? Claire asks that. No, they're not supposed to. They might know already, or they might, yeah, they're not supposed to. But it has been brought up a lot. Why is Lori allowed to approach the bench on a sidebar? I thought she had to use headphones, Whitney says. Sometimes I think the judge does that just to efficiency purposes, just to say, all right, it'll be quicker rather than tuning in. And sometimes it's just a really short brief that it's just easier to do. Since Lori is representing herself, if she testifies, who questions her? How does that work? Good question, Dee. If Lori testifies, she will have pre-written the questions that she will give to her advisory counsel, who will ask them. She cannot just get up there and pontificate and talk and ramble. She has to answer the questions. If she does testify, Trina Kay can then question her within the scope of what was asked. Then her advisory attorneys can go back on on redirect, and ask her follow-up questions. Nate, do you think there's a chance the appeals will work? Jenny asks. I have no idea. I have no clue. I would probably say no, but I don't know. If they do, we go through this all again. Carolyn, what's the distance that Alex would have had to drive the Jeep to shoot Brandon? Who will get the Jeep when all of this is over? Oh, I don't know. That's a good question on who gets the Jeep. A lot of times with evidence that's not claimed, it is raffled off. They sell it. So maybe Colby gets it? I don't know. That's a good question. It's been in evidence since then. The distance, well, he would have had to drive from Rexburg here, which I've done. I haven't driven from Rexburg. I've done Idaho Falls. It takes me about 13 hours. So 14 hours probably. And on the way home, he went a roundabout way. He went a longer way. Mary says, I know the jurors don't, but do the witnesses know about Lori's previous convictions? Yes. The witnesses, I'm sure, have been following this case because they have been following all the cases because they knew that of this. But if they don't know, they're allowed to like look stuff up. They just can't watch this trial or attend this trial. Why is there a biohazard bucket in court? Jess asks. I think that was from the other day when Lori said she was going to throw up. Her attorney put it next to her. You all have good eyes. You see things I don't. I haven't noticed that, or it's just blended in with the courtroom. Stephanie says that people are, Lori's family is supplying Lori's clothing for her, and I took it to her. Is that true? Lori's cousin Megan is saying this. No, I have not taken Lori any clothing. I don't know anything about that. And I can't comment further. As far as her family supplying her clothes, I think for the first trial they may have. I know that other people have offered to give her clothes that are not family members in this trial. Is Lori teaching other inmates in jail about her religion? I think Lori's in solitary. Is she in solitary? Yeah, she is. Why is Detective Pillar sitting at the prosecution table? Damon asks. I think I answered that earlier. He's the case agent. Helga says, who was coughing yesterday? If it's Lori, it seems to only be when Trina K is talking. I honestly didn't hear any coughing because I'm in the back of the courtroom. The acoustics are horrible. It could have been Lori, though. A lot of people are saying that Lori was the one coughing. All testing on the bolts to the Jeep. Do you think it will come out if they found anything? Well, we kind of went through that earlier, Trudy. We hear about the testing, but no one said what was found. They did today. Why does it appear that Lori's always leaning to the left? Mitzi asks. She's actually leaning to the right when she's at the podium. It's more this way. And it might be because of her belt, or she's just leaning. You think about it. She probably does not stand that much in jail. She's probably sitting most of the day. She might dance in her cell, but to stand for 30 minutes to an hour, she's probably not used to that. Lori has a change in makeup. It doesn't look like clown makeup anymore. I'm no makeup expert. Her attorneys might be helping her. Has Chad Daybell been charged as a conspirator in either Charles Vallows or Brandon Boudreaux's case? If not, is it possible? Is that because he's already facing the death penalty in Idaho? He has not been charged in Arizona. The prosecutor said years ago, before the Idaho trial, before he was even sentenced to death, that they felt they did not have enough to charge him. That they felt they did not have enough to get a conviction on Chad. So that's why they're not doing it. They did not close the case, though, so maybe they could. I think at this point they probably wouldn't. Who's there to support Brandon? I think I talked about that earlier. Does Lori ever look toward the victim's family as she enters or leaves? Nope, she does not. At least not that I've seen. If she's made eye contact with Brandon or Kate, perhaps, but I don't think so. Why put the tire in the storage unit? Tara asks. I don't know, maybe to hide it. Maybe if the cops were to show up at the house and be like, is it here? Rather than put it in the garage, they probably wanted to keep it there. Good question. Don't leave the contract on the printer, though, of where your storage unit is. Who is buying Lori her clothes? We talked about that. Why is the judge warning Lori not to go down the road? Why is the judge doing that? She chose to represent herself. Why is the judge getting involved? Well, the judge it's his courtroom, and I think he probably wants to keep guardrails in place and not turn it into a chaotic free-for-all. And so he kind of gives her warnings, and sometimes she heeds them, sometimes she doesn't. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow morning. Here's where you can follow me. I'll have updates as the trial progresses, maybe concludes. I'm on Facebook. You can follow me there, X, Insta, and YouTube. Please subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. That way you'll get the alert when a verdict is in. My prediction, we'll have to do a prediction tomorrow on my page. You can guess. I'm thinking verdict on Thursday, not tomorrow. But I'll be back tomorrow night. Courtroom Insider. Guess what? Jordan is here in Arizona, and he made it so that my signal was flawless tonight. So thanks to Jordan, who fixed it all. He'll be here through the end of the trial, and maybe one morning we'll go and get donuts and bring you along with us. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.